Hey, you want to go from this to this? My name is Gabe, and I've been playing Charger for about 5 years now. And honestly, I've been picking up some couple of tricks and tips that I want to share, as I want to make this the one and only Charger guide you will ever need until they release, new stuff in Splatoon 3. And then, we'll make an update. We'll make a part 2. But until then, this will be the one and only Charger's guide video. The most important thing to remember as a Charger player is that mechanical skill does not matter. What matters more is game sense. Mechanical skills refers to how well you are able to basically shoot, how great is your aim, how great is your reaction time, things like that. But as a Charger player, while these things do come into factor, what matters more as a Charger player is game sense, which is actually more of how well do you know to keep track of objective? Do you know how to anticipate a game and know exactly how it's going to happen? And you do know how to react and do stuff in order to better be positioned and be prepared for when that thing that you predicted occurs. A good example of game sense is that your opponent has Rainmaker and you know that they're going to push Rainmaker. But game sense basically lets you know that because you know that they have to push through the left side of the map, you know that you're better off being positioned on the right side to have a good angle and a good clear line of sight to stop them for when they try to pass. Things like that are game sense, and that is something that's very crucial to have as a Charger player. When it comes to game sense, there are 3 things you have to look out for as a Charger player. Number 1 is objective and chokes. Number 2 is countering other chargers and backlines. And number 3 is staying alive. Objective is the first thing a Charger should watch out for, and a thing that should be honestly being paid to the most attention. When an enemy is actually pushing tower, the Charger should be in position ready to snipe the tower to actually stop the push. Same thing with Rainmaker, and same thing should be said about Clamplets. It's very important for a Charger to stop objective, or even on the flip side, when Rainmaker needs to be picked up and someone on your team needs to push Rainmaker, that should be the Charger's job, as well as when someone needs to be on tower to push it. Chargers generally need to be on tower in order to push the tower. I also include chokes as here because when you're playing splat zones or when you're playing certain modes, a lot of times you're going to see your opponent has to come down a certain alleyway, a certain area, and it's very difficult for them to want to approach that area if you're defending it very well. So as a Charger player, it's very important to hold down a choke or an area, preventing your opponent from even entering that area, as it doesn't allow them to actually push the objective, like I mentioned earlier, or actually get into positions for them to actually make a monster push later. A good example of this is in splat zones, where you know that your opponent, in order to re-enter zone, has to come in through a certain area, so you position yourself so that you're then able to take shots at them and stop them and put pressure on them before they're even able to reach the zone, allowing your team to better win the match. The second job a Charger has to focus on when it comes to game sense is countering other Chargers and backlines. Like I mentioned before, Chargers are constantly trying to stop objective and chokes and possibly harassing your teammates. So in order to stop them, you as a Charger have to put pressure on them in order to stop them from basically harassing your teammates or even splatting your teammates. To better win Charger 1v1s, we'll talk about this more in depth later, but something that's really cool to keep in mind is that what you can do is simply just take shots at a Charger and force them to constantly relocate, constantly move around, and constantly make them look at you without actually having to hit them. The best part about this is the fact that your presence alone as a Charger player makes the other Charger player have to worry and be cautious about where you are, what you're doing at all times, as if you're distracting them, they can't snipe your team, and that helps your team out, as your team is probably going to be able to better win that 1v1. As a Charger player, something that's really important and crucial to do is when you build up Stingray and your team is making a push, it's better to not just pop your Stingray automatically and instead wait for your enemy to have Stingray, so that when they pop Stingray on your team, you're then able to counteract their Stingray with your own Stingray and force them to relocate and force them to move, or even force them to actually move their Stingray onto you, not letting them actually put the Stingray on tower, allowing your teammates to better push. So if you have Stingray, use it to counter your opponent's Stingray, your opponent's Charger Stingray. The third most important thing that a Charger player has to do is honestly stay alive. Staying alive is really important and really crucial, as your entire team needs someone to rely, and as a Charger player and as an anchor, you are the last line of defense before your enemies can actually push the objective safely. So something that's really important to do as a Charger player is watch out for flanks, watch out for the enemy Charger, as knowing where they are is constantly important, as well as being able to just stay alive, as if your teammates go down early in the fight, but you're able to hold your middle position, you're able to hold your position, you act as a live beacon that your team is then able to either swim to you safely or jump to you. As a Charger player, when you get flanked, there are either two things you could do. Either one, take the 1v1 and take the possible risk of hitting your shot, or number two is just quickly jumping out and swimming away. And honestly, neither are bad, as if you want, you can quickly take a shot if you already have your shot charged up. And if you hit the shot, awesome, you're not at risk. But if you miss, try to swim away quickly and try to get away, as you being alive is more important than you staying to try and win that 1v1 and ultimately failing. Now let's talk about mechanics and things you could do to better improve your aim as a Charger player and do things that actually help you be better as Chargers. And yeah, the first thing you want to practice is jump shots. Now in Splatoon, a Charger has a certain amount of range, and when you jump, your range is actually slightly extended, and this can be the make or break it point of whether or not you actually hit your shot or you miss, just simply based off the range. So jump shots are super important, especially on maps like Moray Towers, where you're basically as a Charger player on a little wall. That little wall, if you jump over and then quickly snipe, you could still hit your shot on the other side as a Charger player. And this allows you to basically hit shots while still being slightly covered. Not to mention, if an opponent is actually far away, this also lets you quickly hit them more effectively and more consistently than if you were to simply just stay on the ground and just shoot. So practice jump shots. It's super important. The second thing you're going to want to practice as a Charger player is super important, as Charger players are the best weapon in the game to right peek. Right peeking is when essentially 90% of your body is covered by a wall or object, and you use that small 10% of your ability as a right-handed inkling to quickly pierce and kind of shoot, even though most of your body is actually covered by a wall. If you want a more in-depth version of right peeking and kind of like a quick tutorial, I made a whole YouTube short. It'll be in the eye icon, link in the description as well, if you want to check out right peeking more slightly in depth. But if you go to the practice range, you can actually practice right peeking, as you can go to the wall and quickly try and take snipes at the other dummies, and this helps you get used to actually right peeking and getting used to quickly holding a position and holding a wall, as your body is mainly covered, so it's easier for you to take snipes at your opponents without your opponents even knowing where you're at or even being able to shoot you back. This is super crucial if you want to win Charger 1v1s. Something that's super important to practice, and number 3 is flick shots. Now in Splatoon, Chargers, their laser is actually shown when they're aiming, so it's super important for you to quickly be able to have your laser on one object but still have your enemy in your vicinity, as when you see the enemy quickly pop out of the ink, you need to be able to quickly flick your controller and flick your retinal onto them, quickly being able to splat them without hesitation, as this allows you to quickly get a splat and surprise your enemy, as they're not expecting you to quickly shoot at them. And this is actually way better for you to hit shots than you just simply aiming at your opponent and tracking them, because your opponent can actually see this and be aware of that you're actually shooting them and you're actually seeing them. So the surprise shots are better than the ones that are more predictable. Now, all these 3 things that you have to practice take time, and honestly, a lot of times before a practice match, go into the practice range and just practice these things. Playing Charger takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of time to just constantly be consistent, and don't worry about being mechanically gifted or being mechanically good. What really matters as a Charger player is hitting those shots, like I mentioned before, that actually matter, and hitting the shots that help your team make the push, that help your team win the game. And yeah, you can play a solo game and still go 3-10, and it's okay, as long as those 3 shots that you made were the ones that actually helped your team win, and the ones that helped your team stay in the game and not let them lose. Now, as a Charger player, something that's really important for you to do is actually lower your sensitivity. My sensitivity is actually at a -2.5, and this is super important, as when you're holding those shots for, let's say you're flick shotting, or when you're holding your shots when right peeking, you want to be able to quickly hold your retinal in a certain position for a while and not worry about your hand shaking a lot or the motion being quickly off, as this can be the make or break difference between you actually hitting a Charger player or you missing. So yeah, lowering your sensitivity is really important. I play at -3 to -2.5. This is my comfort zone. This is what I've been playing Splatoon for about 4 years with. So try out negative sensitivity, see what you prefer. And yeah, but it's better to keep a negative sensitivity than it is a positive one as a Charger player. Something that also helps as a charger player is quickly pressing Y on the controller to reset the motion and reset the access in the middle of the screen. This helps a lot for me personally, because a lot of times when I play charger, I feel like the motion is off, or I feel like the motion is slightly off-centered. So I like to press Y to quickly recalibrate everything to be centered. That way, if I'm not really just looking at the ground, instead I'm looking forward and my retinal is actually straight forward and not aiming towards the ground. Patience and taking your time as a charger player is super important, as you do not want to rush anything, because when you rush, you try to be nervous, you tend to just miss more than if you were to just be patient, you breathe, and you're gonna hit those shots. I believe in you. Now, in order to win charger 1v1s, it's very much dependent on mechanical skill as well as game sense as to which charger can better hit their shots. Something that really matters in charger 1v1s is positioning. The charger player that has the better positioning and is there in the position that they want first is oftentimes in a better position to actually win the match, all funny, as well as not just positioning, but also who charges up their shots first, as you do not want to quickly peek an enemy but still have your shot actually be charging, as by the time you peek and charge your shot, the enemy probably already has their shot charged and they're able to quickly snipe you. So try to have your shot charged and have the position ready before you even peek. The third thing to keep in mind when playing as a charger player is to actually know how to jump shot and right peek. What I mean by this is a lot of times other charger players are hiding behind a wall, or, like I said, doing jump shots or right peeking as well. And so it's very important for you to actually practice how to hit those very crucial shots, as sometimes a charger could be hiding behind a wall and they'll still try and snipe you, even though both of you are behind a wall, or you're both trying to jump shots, trying to hit each other. So practicing these and actually being in better positioning and already having your shot charged puts you in a better position to actually win those 1v1s, as if you're able to quickly peek out, jump, shoot your shot, and then quickly go back to the wall so you're fully covered, you're in a better position. You have a better shot of actually hitting your shot against the charger player than if you just simply stayed there and have your retinal there but not be fully charged, as you're basically giving time for your enemy to charge the shot and splat you. If you miss your first shot in a charger 1v1s, the charger 1v1s will still continue, but something that's really important to keep in mind is to quickly just go back to the wall or go back to where you were hiding and hide there until you're able to quickly charge up another shot and be able to snipe your opponent. If you feel like you're going to constantly miss and you're not able to quickly hit your opponent, something that's really important to do is actually change your position. You're able to quickly relocate, change your position so that you're more unpredictable, so that the enemy doesn't actually know where you're at and doesn't actually know to actually aim there, as sometimes you might be aiming right, but in the time that you aimed right, your enemy actually moved left to get a new position on you and a new angle on you. So it's very important to try and reposition in those charger 1v1s if you feel it is crucial, after you've kind of missed a couple of times and you don't feel like you can actually snipe them from the angle that you're at. As a charger player, you normally want to play behind a wall, behind a little hump, and you normally want to play around with protection, as you want to make it more difficult for your opponents to know that you are there, as well as make it more difficult for your opponents to shoot at you. If anything I said in today's video is a little bit confusing, I stream on Twitch, I hang out, I play some Splatoon, and yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys can ask me those questions live in the chat, and I'm happy to get back to you. If you like the video and want to see more, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss another video. And if you want more guide videos, more tips, some little insights, some little text for Splatoon, I upload daily on TikTok. Check me out, link in the description down below. We just hit 100 followers and I'm honestly thankful and surprised. So yeah, go check me out. With that being said, my name is Gabe, and guys, this is the one and only charger guide video you will ever need until Splatoon 3, where there will probably be a part 2. But until then, my name is Gabe, and I will see you guys later. Bye.